Could you please tell us how you became the world-leading trumpeter?
Well, son, when I was a little boy like you...
Armstrong grew up in an institution, the Colored Waifs Home in New Orleans. While there, he came across a cornet, a cousin of a trumpet. He explained how he learned to play while visiting a classroom in West Africa.
And I was fortunate enough to run into a kind man by the name of Mr. Joe Oliver. And he was nice enough. He would help me in his spare moments, which proves that if we'll help one another, you just can't miss.
By the time he was 21, he was living in Chicago, playing the jazz clubs.
Gunshot wounds, and it's in critical condition. All this is still preliminary, but it appears that everything stemmed from a minor fender bender that occurred here in the parking lot as people were starting to let out at 5 a.m. or so. That led to some type of verbal and possibly physical altercation as people were coming out. Others joined the fray. People produced pistols, and that's the information that we have right now. One of the males that was shot, possibly the one at the hospital, we believe, may have been shot by one of the security guards that was here at location. So that's obviously part of our investigation as well. All of this is still preliminary. Obviously, a lot of people had fled by the time we arrived. So we're asking that if anybody has any information, to please contact us at 713-274-9100 or to call Crime Stoppers as well. And just want to continue to warn our community members to not frequent these after-hours clubs. They're hubs for a lot of criminal activity. We see all kinds of things from prostitution to drugs to disturbances and obviously shootings. Just at this location, I'm told that approximately 4 years ago, there was another shooting that occurred. I know HPD just a couple of days ago along the Gulf Freeway responded to an after-hours club where at least 2 people were shot there. So these places tend to be havens for a lot of criminal activity, and then people are also spilling out into the streets intoxicated as well, which poses all throughout the greater Houston, Harris County area, and they pop up routinely. Sometimes they're shut down and then they reopen up again. And so that's the way they operate. They operate in the dark of the night, typically open up after 2 a.m. when the other licensed establishments have closed down. And then, like I said many times, it's a head-in just for additional drugs and alcohol consumption that are going on in these places. So I don't have any details of what was happening here tonight in this place, but we know it's been open in the past, and so that's what we have right now.
Do we believe this is multiple people started shooting out at each other when this all unfolded, or do you think it was just 1 or 2 people?
We're thinking it's probably at least 2, because again, we believe one male may have shot the person that's confirmed deceased here at the location, and it's possible that one of the armed security guards out here acted quickly, was able to neutralize the shooter and shot him, and who knows if more people would have been shot. And so that's the information we have right now. But we believe at least 2 shooters. There could have been more. And again, that's why we ask the public to reappear and to come or give us information. Even if they want to remain anonymous, they can do that.
Do we believe either the deceased or the one at the hospital critical, were either one of them the ones who kind of started all of this?
We don't know their direct connection. We don't believe they were directly involved in that minor fender bender, but they probably knew the 2 parties involved in that. And so that's we're still trying to determine that piece, is that they know one of the parties involved, or were they just bystanders and then words got exchanged between them. That part we don't know. And again, that's where we depend on our community to give us those pieces of information. There were a lot of people out here when it happened, so somebody knows or heard something that happened, and we asked them to do the right thing and give us a call so that at the end of the day we could give information to the family of the deceased person.
Was this place licensed?
I don't know their current licensing status or what type of license occurs at these, but typically they're not licensed to operate many times, and definitely not licensed to sell alcohol past those hours, but that's what we tend to have. So, we'll have to see what the reality was in this particular situation right now, but just from experience with other after-hours clubs, that's what we tend to see, is that many are unlicensed and are selling alcohol, and also a lot of drug activity happens as well.
So has any investigator been inside the club?
I don't know if we've been able to make it into the club itself. We're conducting a lot of the scene investigation. The location itself is secured right now, so we'll let the investigators determine kind of what happened after that. This particular incident appears to have occurred in the parking lot, so we'll have to see that connection to the club, but it was the patrons that were spilling out that were involved in this.
And the security guard who returned fire at the person who was shooting, he was unharmed?
Yes, correct. No other reported injuries out here, but just like the one female showed up at that standalone emergency clinic, it's possible that others sustained injuries as well and just haven't come forward, or we haven't been told. So we'd like for them to come forward as well.
And that security guard is just detained, questioned?
At a point, yeah, he's cooperating with us just to give us his side of the story. But at this point, there's no pending charges or anything like that we know of. It'll be, again, our homicide investigators that are still investigating on that. But it seems that he just acted in trying to, neutralize and stop the further shooting.
The security guard, do you know if he's employed by the strip center or by the club?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any of his status or who he's employed by or anything like that at this point.
And so the person that the security guard shot, are you quite certain that he shot at least one of the individuals who was shooting?
It's still preliminary. Again, we still have we want to make sure that we confirm all those things, but that's the initial understanding, is that the person that's wounded at the hospital was possibly the initial shooter, but that's still yet to be fully confirmed, but that's our initial belief.
So there's a potential second shooter who you have not identified and apparently is not at the scene?
Not at this point. We don't know who may have shot the female, but it could have been from the gunfire that had occurred. But at this point, we know that an armed security guard fired shots, and we know that the possible suspect that's hospitalized right now, that he also is, again, one of the suspected shooters. I don't know about any other shooters at this point.
So at this point, the two shooters you believe to have been involved in this is the security guard and the person who
is wounded at the hospital.
Of being
correct.
Shot by the security guard after initiating gunfire.
Yes, that's the preliminary information we have right now.
Okay, there's no additional potential patron who is shooting
that we know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at this time.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Open with that.
Real long. No, of course.